The Blast from Our Past Network.
Lock your doors, close your windows, turn out your lights, for chills and thrills await you. It's time for Podcasting After Dark with your hosts, Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer. Stay with a friend, say your prayers as grisly ghouls close in to seal your doom. Tonight's episode, Cemetery Man, starring Rupert Everett, François Hadji-Lazaro, and Anna Falchi.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Podcasting After Dark. I'm one half of the pad team proper, Corey, a.k.a. Sleazy C. Joined with me, as always, is my brother from another mother, Zach, the total snackage Schaefer. And this week, we are talking about Cemetery Man, a.k.a. Dellamorte Dellamore. And this is a pick from Robert Ortiz, one of our Patreon members at the highest tier. So, Robert, thank you so much. He's given us Excalibur. I mean, Zach, because of that episode, I can never, ever say or read the words Excalibur anymore without doing that in my head or out loud.
Yeah, you have to. It's a moral imperative.
But yeah, Robert Ortiz has given us so much, but he is also a prolific poetry writer. So please swing on over to Amazon and check out his works. We always have a link in our show notes on the episodes that he produces. So go check that out. I have all of his books. Zach has all of his books, and it's really cool. It's really cool to have such talented friends and fans in our midst.
Yeah, Robert is he's a Robert of all trades, if you will. And he's been a friend for a long time and a strong supporter of the show, and has, like you said, Corey, chosen many great movies for us to break down, including Godzilla, Suburbia, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. And of course, like you said, Excalibur. But tonight is tonight. Every time I say tonight, I think of the Queen song, Don't Stop Me Now. And then I think of Shaun of the Dead. Break that movie down, y'all. Like, pick that movie for us to break down.
I haven't seen that movie in forever, by the way.
I haven't seen it I haven't seen it since I watched it here on the deck with you and a bunch of other people, I think, back in the day.
That's probably the last time I saw it, too.
Yeah, and it just celebrated its 30th anniversary, which is really weird.
Wow.
Or 25th anniversary? I don't know. Anyway, some sort of anniversary. Where the hell's Records Room? Yeah, but Robert is at the highest tier on our Patreon, which means he's a producer of the show. We pick one of his movies. If you're not familiar with that, y'all, if you sign up to Patreon, our Patreon, patreon.com/podcastingafterdark, you sign up to the highest tier, we will break down any movie that you choose, with a few exceptions, of course, but for the most part, it's something that you pick. And Robert has, like I said, picked some great ones, like Corey and I mentioned, and tonight is no exception to that. Cemetery Man is a movie that I think most cult film lovers, most horror film lovers know and cherish. I don't think there's one person that has anything negative to say about this movie. It's a wild ride. I can't wait to break it down with you and get into the nitty-gritty dirt band of it. And side note, just a little bit of backstory for me. I saw it when it came out at the Camera Cinemas in San Jose, California.
Oh, very cool.
On the big screen, I believe with my friend Larry Wilson from high school. And still to this day, a friend of mine, one of the few. And yeah, I loved it then. I haven't seen it in its entirety since.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a long time, and I'm happy to dig into it with you.
Now, assuming you had the same experience as me, do you remember seeing this covered in Fangoria back in the day?
I did. And I remember buying a bootleg copy of it at Fangoria and fast forwarding to a certain part in the movie. And that was about it. Back in the day, I was 18. What do you expect?
Of course.
Yeah, 17 or something. Anyways, yeah, I did. Yeah, I remember seeing it covered in Fangoria. A little bit of a tease, because the images that were shown are very brief in the film. The movie's way more complex than I think what Fangoria was leading on to.
Yes, yeah. A friend of mine was asking Luna. She was on reviewing Clerks and Mallrats with me on the little mini episode. She was asking me what we were reviewing tonight. I told her what it was, and what it was about, and I'm like, it's a guy who works at a cemetery, and he basically kills the zombies that come back to life. And I go, but there's so much more to this movie than that. My experience with it, same issue of Fangoria. I remember reading about it, thinking Rupert Everett looked cool, another zombie movie. Back in the day, at this time, zombie movies weren't a dime a dozen like they are now,
Right.
And there was no Walking Dead TV show and all this kind of stuff. So I loved the zombie genre growing up. Aside from the slasher genre, it was my favorite horror genre, and so I tried to watch every zombie movie that came out, which means I unfortunately watched House of the Dead in the theater and stuff like that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. But I saw this and I was instantly in love with it. Love is not the right word. Infatuated, just like completely head over heels with this film. It hit me, I guess maybe it hit me at the right time. But I went through such a Cemetery Man phase to the point where there's a solid maybe 4 or 5 months out of my life where I wore nothing but black pants, a white button-down shirt, halfway tucked in. Zach, you know how this is, how this goes, right?
This goes.
Yeah. And this might not have been for you, but you still understand how this goes.
I don't knock it at all.
And I had a black jacket and everything. I think it was like one of those half leather jackets, probably similar to Brad Pitt in Seven, like that era,
I was thinking Tim Roth and Reservoir Dogs had a similar one.
Exactly.
And I had that one. I had that exact same one. And I rocked a tank top underneath it, like Tim Roth and Reservoir Dogs. So I'm right there with you, buddy.
Get it.
I cosplayed
totally
too, just like I'm sure Robert Ortiz cosplayed for Dylan Dog. The whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, I'm certain Robert has a photo somewhere of him dressed up as Dylan Dog.
Yeah, me too. Robert, I feel you, buddy. I feel you. This movie was everything to me. So much so that, I went down the rabbit hole of like Dylan Dog. I have the collected works of Dylan Dog comic books that Dark Horse Comics put out and everything. But there is always this misunderstanding of what Dellamorte Dellamore versus Dylan Dog was. And I kind of spent a good portion of today kind of digging into that. And I do want to clarify some things that I knew I got wrong when I was younger, and I still think a lot of people still do. So a lot of people, I think information is a bit more prevalent now, but back in the day, a lot of people assumed that this movie was an adaptation of Dylan Dog, the comic book, which is wildly popular over in Italy. It was produced starting in 1986, and I think up to now they've had 400 issues of it. So it's still apparently going on. But there are reasons that people think that this is an adaptation of Dylan Dog. So Dylan Dog was created by Tiziano Sclave in 1986. Dellamorte Dellamore, the book, was written by Tiziano in 1983, but it was not published until 1991. So here's the thing. Here's the reason why I think a lot of people also get confused. Dylan Dog, the character, who's created by Tiziano Sclave, it's a comic book, and the artist draws the character Dylan Dog to look like Rupert Everett. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's completely out in the open. It's not like a secret or anything. The artist is like, yes, it's Rupert Everett, because before Rupert Everett did Cemetery Man, before he was big in America, he was an actor in the UK and everything. He was big over in Europe.
Right.
I believe he was kind of like a heartthrob and everything.
He was.
And I think that's where the misinformation comes from, that people think that this character is Dylan Dog, but with a different name, but it's not. Francisco Dellamorte is a different character altogether. I did read online that he actually showed up in one issue of Dylan Dog, but I did not read that one to confirm it, and I don't remember it in the collected works that I have. But apparently, according to Michele, the director, he wanted to make a Dylan Dog movie. He approached Tiziano Sclave after he directed The Church, which was, I believe, in 1989. And Tiziano said he had already promised Dylan Dog to another horror director friend of his, but, and this was like in 1989, he said, but I have this. And he handed Michele Soavi a transcript of Dellamorte Dellamore before it was even published. And he said, here, you can have this. And bada bing, bada boom, this, it goes into production, and there we go.
Wow.
So now we have Cemetery Man, a.k.a. Dellamorte Dellamore. And I think a lot of the problem comes from the fact that they cast, not problem, but misunderstanding comes because they cast Rupert Everett to look like Francisco Dellamorte, but he's also Dylan Dog is drawn to look like Rupert Everett, and I think a lot of it comes from that.
Yeah, and then there was a Dylan Dog movie that came out starring Brandon Routh, a.k.a. the low-rent Superman, and that had nothing to do with Cemetery Man, so...
No, that was an actual direct adaptation of Dylan Dog, the comic book. So
yeah.
And I highly recommend the comic. Dark Horse puts out some collected works. They're black and white. The artwork is absolutely beautiful, but you can tell that it's similar. Like he's a private detective, an occult detective, fights zombies, werewolves, vampires. Very much, if you think the vibe of Hellboy, but just with your main character being Rupert Everett versus a demon.
Oh yeah, sure. That's a good comparison.
Yeah.
And you're right. Rupert Everett was a heartthrob and then came here to the States and did My Best Friend's Wedding with Julia Roberts, and then came out. And I believe that's what kind of tanked his career. So, which is so lame. But, there's people in power or a bunch of jerks. And it's unfortunate because he's a tremendous actor, and who cares? It's called acting for a reason, folks. And get over it. Anyways, he's great in this, and he's great in My Best Friend's Wedding. I actually saw that in the theater. Oh.
I saw that in the theater too because I loved Rupert Everett from Cemetery Man. That's why I saw whatever that rom-com that George Clooney did after From Dusk Till Dawn. Like I saw that in the theater because I loved From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, the Sandra Bullock in it. No, Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer I think is in it.
Yeah. Now the other one he did, Out of Sight, was actually really good.
Out of Sight is tremendous. And if y'all want us to break that one down, go to patreon.com/podcastingafterdark and sign up to our highest tier to have us break down Out of Sight, which that's my favorite Steven Soderbergh movie next to Kafka. Kafka is another one. If you've never seen Kafka with Jeremy Irons, it's basically a retelling of some of Kafka's tales. Dude, that movie's great, and it's very hard to find.
Yeah, I saw that way back in the day. It was definitely one of those movies where I kind of saw it too young, didn't understand it, didn't get it, would like to rewatch it with, older eyes.
Fresh eyes.
Well, not so fresh, more mature maybe.
I know. I looked in the mirror the other day. I was like, my eyes are not so fresh anymore. My Best Friend's Wedding came out in 1997, and Cemetery Man came out in 1994. So it was not too far after Cemetery Man that he did My Best Friend's Wedding. And Dylan McDermott's in that. So there's your Dylan connection.
A Dylan Dog connection.
I love Dylan McDermott. Yeah, but, Rupert Everett, big star, big hunky boy. It's funny how you watch these movies back in the day and you see them through a certain perspective. Now I look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, I could see he's wearing pale face makeup, and he's not as hunky as I used to think he was. But I'm like, well, things change.
Taste change.
Taste change, yeah. I think we should just mention the three main cast members, and then we'll get into Michele Savoy. So François Hadji-Lazaro plays Nyagi. And he passed away, sadly, 2 years ago at the age of 66. But he was in a bunch of really cool French films, including
Brotherhood of the Wolf
and City of Lost Children. You owe me a Coke. I owe you a Coke. Anyways, didn't you say offline that he was a musician as well?
Yeah, he was the lead singer of a band called, I believe, the Butcher Boys, and that's sort of where they sort of found him from that, because Michele Savoy said they really, like Nagi in the book, he is very much described, you know what I mean? And they really, really wanted to adhere to the look of what he is portrayed in the book. And apparently, Francesco is a spitting image.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I wonder if
I called him Francesco, but I think it's François.
Francois. Yes, I think it is Francois.
Yeah, guys and gals, I'm going to butcher a lot of fucking names in this episode.
It's okay, because apparently fake or is pronounced correctly in some parts of this country. Anna Falchi plays several different characters in this film. But, oh, baby. So I'm just going to let Corey be the one to masturbate through his mouth. And she was in a movie called The Tracker with Dolph Lundgren, which I kind of want to see now. It's a mysterious stranger travels to a remote village where 15 years earlier, his wife and daughter were kidnapped. Kind of want to check that out, and she's in that. So anyways, she's had a prolific career in films overseas, and she's all over this movie.
Yeah, she sure is. And guys and gals, I'll just have to say it now. She's referred to on IMDb, her character's referred to as she, because she's going to be playing 3 different roles. Although it's interesting because we kind of actually know the name of one of them, but I'll refer to her in the breakdown as either Anna Falchi, she, or like she number 2 or she number 3. She number 3 actually has a name, so I actually refer to her as Laura. So yeah, it's a little, just know that going into the breakdown.
As Andrew Dice Clay would say, she's the chick. Oh! Should we talk about Michele Savoy?
Of course, and we saw him in Demons. We actually saw him as an actor in Demons.
With that awesome mask on his face. And he's been obviously mostly behind the camera for the bulk of his career, but he's done, mostly foreign films.
I think directing wise, a lot of people know him from Stage Fright, The Church, The Sect, and I actually just watched The Church for the first time a couple weeks ago. I picked up I think Vinegar Syndrome. Somebody put out a new Blu-ray of it, or 4K. So I picked that up and watched it. Very much enjoyed it, although the last act, the third act of the movie, kind of turns into a very much a Demon-style movie. People trapped in one place, but it is different enough to warrant a watch, and I very, very much enjoyed it. Have you seen that one, Zach?
I never have. It's one of those movies where, like, it's that underground bootleg back in the day that was hard to find, and now it's fortunately available everywhere. So it's on my list.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say check it out, man. If I'd known you hadn't seen it, I would have brought the 4K with me when I was down there a couple weeks ago for Pasadena Comic-Con. I kind of assumed you'd always seen it. Have you seen Stage Fright?
I have not seen Stage Fright as well.
Oh, that one's one I have not seen either. So, guys and gals, again, if you want us to break down The Church or Stage Fright, you know what to do.
If you want us to break down The Tracker with Anna Falchi.
I mean, yeah, more Anna Falchi. I will not complain.
I was going to point out, behind, as far as producers are concerned, Michele Savoy is also one of the producers on this film, and there's a whole slew of producers, so we're not going to get into that. And then the screenplay, like you said, based on the novel, but the screenplay is by Gianni Romoli. And Gianni Romoli is a mostly Italian director.
Mostly Italian writer? Yeah, he's written mostly Italian stuff. Yeah.
And then the composer, there's 2 composers, but there's only one with a IMDb photo, so you know how that goes. It's Manuel de Sica, who passed away at the age of 65 in 2014, and mostly Italian.
Yeah, this whole thing is mostly an Italian production and everyone behind the scenes.
But I like the score in this. I thought it was very catchy. And I believe that the screenwriter watched the TV show St. Elsewhere based on one particular scene in this film. So
didn't it end with it all being in a dream or something like that?
It all ended up being in a snow globe.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, then. Then, yeah. Yeah, because apparently in the book, again, according to Michele, in the book, it's like, it doesn't end in the snow globe, but it does end with that cliff. And like they just kind of drive and it stops and they have to get out, yada, yada, yada. But it's just like a cliff overlooking water. But I like the snow globe ending and how it bookends the movie with the beginning and the end. Kind of gives it this dreamlike quality.
Me too. And in fact, it's one of my favorite endings to a film.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Because it's so kind of bleak and very much in the Fulci world of the beyond.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, very much akin to that, which is appropriate because I believe today or yesterday is Falchi's birthday, so it's kind of nice that we're recording this then.
Oh, when birthday or whatever it is for Lucio Fulci. Hey, I'm part Italian, so I can get a little racist on this. And, you know, I'm not going to be spitting Italian brain rot throughout this episode. And if you know what I'm talking about, it's because you probably got kids. Are you familiar with Italian brain rot?
Me? No.
Yeah, it's the new thing now. It's the new, like, skibbity.
Oh, skibbity riz?
Yeah, Italian brain rot is the new thing. Like, whatever.
Okay, I have no connection to the younger world other than through my nephew, and he hasn't talked about Italian brain rot yet.
And now, well, because we're covering an Italian film, put Italian brain rot on that. This movie, by the way, is dubbed, right? So,
well, yeah, because all Italian movies, they don't shoot with sound, so they have to dub it anyways. Even though it's in English, they still have to go in and dub it.
Yeah, and I'm curious if you know. Obviously, Rupert Everett's voice is his in this film, but I wonder if the other voices are those of the other actors.
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you, but that's a good point. I think a lot of times they probably are. I think because unlike us, a lot of Italians are bilingual, unlike us Americans, you know.
What do you mean bilingual? Who you calling bilingual?
Who you calling bi? That's gay. I do have to say,
just like Rupert Everett, canceled.
I do have to say that with my breakdown, this movie is like very. First off, if you haven't seen it, our breakdown's not going to do it justice. It's like a beautiful dream. The cinematography is stunning. The dialogue is very poetic. There's a lot of Rupert Everett doing a voiceover. It's kind of like his inner monologue and everything like that. There's poetry about death in it, and I just didn't think that like me just writing down all the dialogue would even just do it justice. So. Right. Like always, if you haven't seen this movie, track it down. Zach, is this on Tubi or anything?
It's actually, there's a very nice version of it on YouTube.
Okay.
And it's the complete version because it's the same as the Blu-ray and 4K that came out. You can actually get it on Blu-ray through Synapse for like $18, which is what it cost me. Costed. You don't have to go out and buy the deluxe set that Robert Ortiz and I believe you bought as well.
Yeah, baby. Pre-ordered that shit.
Yeah. So if you are, wanting to save some ducats, it's free on YouTube. And if you want to not save as many ducats, but still a few, go get it on Amazon.
There you go. So, all right. Well, Zach, are you ready to dive into Dellamorte Dellamore?
I'm the watchman of the Buffalora Cemetery.
My name's Francesco Dellamorte.
I don't know how the epidemic started. All I know is that some people, on the 7th night after their death, come back to life.
It's true what they say, that the dead come back to life here at night.
With your consent, I'd like to marry Nagy.
Not as long, dear, as I've got a breath in my body.
We'll fix that right away.
Stop killing the dead. Why don't you just kill the living? Are you listening to me?
Don't you believe me?
No.
Tough.
The movie starts with the camera pulling back from a half-built model of a skull on a table as the phone is ringing. Francesco Dellamorte, who just got out of the shower and is only wearing a towel, answers it as he lights a cigarette. I mean, dude, with him like smoking and everything, like this was also peak me like smoking. This movie, Chow Yun Fat, all contributed to me smoking because, come on, man, I know you're not a smoker, but how cool does smoking look on camera?
I mean, there was a time when it was banned, or not banned, but it was frowned upon to show smoking on camera because it was having such an impact on influencing people. You don't need to ban things, but it is true. Media does influence. So you see cool people doing it and you're like, I want to do that too.
Yeah.
That's why I smoked a cigarillo, because I saw Clint Eastwood doing it in, Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Fuck yeah, man. He looks badass. And yeah,
cigarillos are kind of cool. I like Swisher Sweets.
Oh, Zach. Oh my.
That's to smoke cigars too, but that's a...
Bay 12, please. Franco, his friend on the other end of the line, asks Francesco if he's bothering him. Just then, there's a knock on the door, and Francesco opens it to reveal a pale man with a briefcase staring at him. Francesco raises his revolver and nonchalantly blows the man's brains out, then goes back to talking to Franco on the phone. Now, Zach, did you notice that when he does shoot all the zombies in the head, it's like there's some blood, but it's mostly like dirt and stuff that comes out of it?
Yeah, which I think is a really cool effect. And, I mean, this movie's really not that gory if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty tame.
But, it is gory, though, but it's weirdly not, because it's almost beautiful in its gore.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's artistically gory.
Yeah, there you go. Franco asks how he's doing, and Francesco says, "You know how things are. Life goes on." The camera looks past Francesco, and out his front door is the cemetery he lives at. The title Dellamorte Dellamore appears on the screen. Music plays as the opening credits roll. We see Francesco has a snow globe in his home that depicts two men standing on a cliff with a tunnel behind them. And of course, we're going to see what that is at the end of the movie.
Right. I love that it makes the film flow and feel tighter because there's a bookend to it.
Agreed. I love bookends to movies.
I love bookends.
Francesco calls for his simpleton assistant, Nagi, who lives in the basement below him. Like, what is the PC way of, like, what is Nagi, do you think?
I mean, he's like Sling Blade, right?
Yeah. But even worse, because he can only say, "Nyah."
Well, back in the day, they used to call it slow.
Right.
And then simpleton.
Right.
And other things.
Yes. Now we just call them, I guess, mentally deficient or something.
I mean, no, mentally deficient sounds bad too.
God, I know.
Let me see.
Well, here's the thing. The funny thing is, like, Nagi isn't like that dumb though. He just can't
Special
talk.
needs.
Special needs. Okay. Francisco calls for his special needs assistant, Nagi, who lives in the basement below him.
I don't know if you cut this or not, but if Corey did cut what we talked about earlier, probably could have got canceled.
I think we've been canceled plenty of times over now, baby.
Session 9. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I think the comments. You guys, it's not very kind. Not very kind to call that.
Yeah, we did get, for calling it an insane asylum, which is, I feel like it's kind of a very regular nomenclature to refer to them as, but yeah, we got blasted for that.
It's a horror film.
Whatever. It's an insane asylum, so.
Oy vey.
Oy vey.
Oy, oy, oy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which now is a villager. So are you going to cancel Minecraft?
The two men now have to rebury the man Francesco shot in his doorway. As Nagi fills in the grave, another zombie pops up out of the ground, startling both men. Unfortunately, Francesco left his revolver in his home, so he has to dispatch this returner with the shovel. We get a little... This is one of the actual voiceovers that I wrote down. "My name is Francesco Dellamorte. Weird name, isn't it? Saint Francis of Death. I'm the watchman of the Buffalero Cemetery. I don't know how the epidemic started. All I know is that some people, on the 7th night after their death, come back to life. I call them returners, but frankly, I can't understand why they're so anxious to return. The only way to get rid of them once and for all is to split their heads open." Now, you see a little bit of the dark humor in the fact that he calls them returners, but he's like, but I don't understand why they would want to return to this world. And Zach, I always talk about the thesis of the movie, and I feel like that line is the thesis, because this entire movie, he is so disconnected from the rest of the world that he can't even fathom why anyone would kind of want to leave the peace of death and come back to this world that he clearly hates so much.
I agree with you. And, but I did have a thought. Do you think there's any aversion to calling them zombies?
Michele said in the interview that he wanted to make this movie, the zombies, different, because he said, I grew up on zombie movies and all zombies kind of look the same. Here, and I don't know if it's in the book. I'm assuming the term returners is probably in the book. But what he did contribute, I know for a fact, he said that he did contribute that wasn't in the book, was the root system. Possibly the plant's root system is what's bringing them back. And we see all the zombies have like roots sticking out of them and everything. And he wanted the cemetery to be full of life with all the plants and everything. And then the world sort of around it to not have so much life. And then his idea was that possibly the roots themselves are the ones that are bringing the zombies back. So short answer, I think that Returners is probably in the book, but the root system aspect is from Michele himself.
So like Last of Us, or
very much so like Last of Us, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting how there's no real, genuinely new idea in the world, is there?
Nope. And if George Romero were alive today, he'd be like, "You got that idea from me."
Exactly.
But my zombies don't talk. And I'm bitter. I know you're bitter. I love you anyways.
I love him too. Big rips. Francesco sits at his table and works on his skull puzzle over a bottle of wine with Nagi. He wonders if the returners are some sort of invasion and if it's happening in all cemeteries. Ultimately, it doesn't matter to Francisco. He's just doing his job. The next morning, we see Francisco open the gates for Mrs. Caramundo. She's a daily visitor to the cemetery. Francisco then reads the obituary section of the newspaper to see how many graves they have to dig that day. Later, as a funeral procession comes up to bury someone, Francisco sees the widow, Anna Falchi, and is awestruck by her beauty. That night, we see Francesco lying in bed thinking about her. He wonders if he'll ever see her again. So this is she number one, and I mostly refer to her as Anna Falchi because we don't have a name for this she.
No, and she probably would prefer to have a name.
I'm sure.
This location, though, too, is, I'm not sure if this location's been used before, but it looks very familiar. Like, it looks like every cemetery that's been in every Italian horror film.
Yeah, and it's beautifully photographed. Cinematographer, another all-Italian movie guy and everything, but...
Yeah, all-Italian.
Yeah.
It was in Life is Beautiful. Is that the one that won an Academy Award one year?
I think so, right? When he ran down all the stairs or all top of the chairs and whatnot.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
He played Clouseau. He's funny, that guy. He's a funny
guy, that guy.
He's a funny guy.
The next day, Francesco sees Anna Falchi at what he assumes is her father's grave, because the picture on this tombstone is of an old man, and Anna Falchi is 22. And
she must be from L.A.
Seriously. She corrects him with a single word, husband. He asks how long her husband has been dead, and she says 2 weeks. Francesco says, thank God. But this irritates Anna. She says, he was a wonderful lover, incredible, tireless. He was fantastic. And this is a great beginning to a gag. Francesco looks down at the picture on the tombstone, and the man is now smirking. So all the tombstones have pictures. The first time you see this guy's picture, when it's just, his age, or, you thought it was the dad, he's kind of like, not scowling, but very stone-faced.
Yeah.
Here, he's kind of smirking. He's like, yeah, buddy, I tapped that ass.
I love how tongue-in-cheek moments are in this movie.
Me too. Later that day, Francesco is taking a shower and thinking about how he messed things up with Anna Falchi. Again, he wonders if he'll see her again. Cut to Francesco in town visiting his friend. Franco is the only living person who even calls me. Now and then I stop by his office to remind myself what he looks like. You can't live on memories alone. I do like that line. You can't live on memories alone.
Like most people do.
Living on memories?
Yeah. Going on Facebook and looking at old things and...
Well, I mean,
living in nostalgia. We live in nostalgia.
I was going to say, we live in nostalgia. I feel like we live on memories alone.
We do.
Oh, boy.
Only the good ones.
There you go. We bury the bad ones and forget about them.
This is true. This is true.
Franco asks why he doesn't tell the mayor about what's happening at the cemetery. Francesco says that then they'll close it down and it's goodbye job and goodbye house. But who will believe him anyways? Franco says he believes him. As Francesco walks back to his car, he gets heckled by some of the locals. He thinks to himself, hell, at a certain point in life, you realize you know more dead people than living. And it's interesting because right now we don't quite know why the town sort of heckles him, but we will find out later.
Yeah, and his reaction is pretty awesome.
It is. It really is. Back at the cemetery, Nagi is digging a grave while Francesco sits and reads a newspaper when he spots Anna Falchi walking by. He follows her to her husband's grave and tries to say something, but she just walks past him. He catches her at the front gate and apologizes for being crass the other day. He introduces himself to her and says this is the only job he could get, even with a degree in biology. We later find out this was a lie. Anyway, we all end up here sooner or later, don't we? She continues to ignore him. That is until Francesco mentions that the cemetery has a marvelous ossuary. She stops and smiles. And I was like, okay, let me look up ossuary. And according to dictionary, it's a room in which the bones of dead people are placed. So I don't know like how different that is than a mausoleum. I guess they're more out in the open than actually being inside of like crypts.
Yeah, and this one's filled with disgusting water. He's got no game, by the way. His game sucks.
His game are his chiseled abs.
Well, he's got those.
But she doesn't see them here, so.
He's like Rick Rossovich in Roxanne, you know. He's the good-looking hunk with no game.
I know you love that movie. I've never seen it before.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I might have seen it once, like when it first came out on VHS way back in the day, but I don't really foresee my dad ever renting that. And here's the thing, guys and gals, I always say my dad, I didn't really watch movies with my mom. Like that was never a thing. It's the complete opposite with Zach. Zach saw everything with his mom, but like Roxanne, not really going to be something my dad's going to rent.
Well, you can make up for that. Mill Creek put out a cool slipcover with the VHS slipcover, so
oh, okay.
I think you should get it. I think you should own it.
Okay.
Watch it. Have a little date night with wifey.
Oh, you think she'd like that one?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's got Shelley Duvall, rest in peace. Daryl Hannah, Rick Rossovich, Steve Martin. Yeah, it's got a great cast.
Okay, and it's what Sergio DeBergiac or whatever. It's that retelling, right?
Sergio DeBergiac.
What's the character's called?
Cyrano de Bergerac.
I just woke Zach up. His eyes got real big when I said that. Cut to Francesco opening the doors to the ossuary. It's dank and covered in spider webs. She says, I have never seen anything so exciting. Anna Falchi takes off her high heels and steps down into the ankle-high putrid water. She starts exploring the room in a very sensual manner. Michele says that she's a necrophiliac, is essentially what he was sort of going for.
I'm a germophiliac watching this scene.
Well, the good thing is this was a set, so at least it wasn't real putrid water.
Italian movies always have a way of like making you feel really gross and dirty, even if it's actually not.
Yeah,
it just looks gross and dirty.
And they also have a way of making gross and dirty look beautiful, but like I don't want to be in it. You know what I mean?
No, it's not sexy at all.
No, it's not sexy, Jack.
No.
She stands close to Francesco and asks if he will allow her to return. Francesco asks if she will allow him to kiss her just once. She grabs a red cloth off the ground and places it over Francesco's head. She's wearing a black veil, and the two passionately kiss through the fabrics.
COVID kissing. That's how do you ever see anybody during COVID kissing with their masks on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I remember being in Palm Springs on the tram that goes up to the mountain in Palm Springs, and we were waiting to go home, take the tram ride back down to the parking lot, and this couple was there with their masks on, and they're making out with their masks on, and I'm like,
ew.
But no,
that's gross.
No.
All you're doing is tonguing the inside of that nasty mask that you've been breathing into, and it's all wet from your fucking
weird.
Saliva and everything. Oh, God.
You're making out with your pillowcase.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's so weird.
People are weird.
Yep.
She then pushes Francesco away and says that she must be faithful to the memory of her husband. Anna Falchi starts backing up and talking about how this place has a hold of her. She backs into some skeletons and their hands fall on her, ripping at her dress. She breaks free of the skeletons, as well as her top, and goes running out the door of the ossuary. As Francesco walks through the cemetery looking for she, he sees little will-o'-the-wisps floating about that lead him to her. I love them, by the way.
One of my favorite things in this movie. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And if you don't know, guys and gals, what will-o'-the-wisps are, it's basically these little floating lights. People will see them in woods sometimes. Comes from fairy folklore, don't follow the lights in the woods, will-o'-the-wisps and stuff like that. But that's what I think these are. He doesn't call them that per se, but I believe that's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, they're also in Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess.
There you go.
And also too, y'all, like Italians have a totally different take on nudity. So, if we comment on Falchi's Falchiness, it's okay, because that's how the Italians like totally embrace that stuff.
Exactly.
And Corey's like, I would embrace that.
I would embrace it too. So they make love on top of her husband's grave. And if Anna Falchi was a He-Man character, her name would be Niplore, because her nips are huge.
Wow.
When Francesco asks why here, she says because she never kept anything from him. They trusted each other implicitly. The camera pans over, and we now see the picture of her husband. He looks mortified, and I love it.
It's so like a airplane moment.
Yes. Yeah, very similar.
Or in what is it? Weird Science, when the picture comes to life or something, Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I feel like we've seen it in another movie where the picture behind the person changes to what they're talking about. We've seen it before. This is handled masterfully.
Very funny.
It's very funny. As Francesco and she are having sex, her husband comes back to life and claws his way out of the ground and attacks she. He bites her on the arm, then Francesco dispatches the returner with a metal cross through the head. As Nagi comes walking over to see what all the commotion is, Francesco yells for him to get the doctor. She whispers, "Nothing will separate us, not even death," to Francesco as she dies in his arms.
It's kind of shocking moment, actually, because you feel like, oh, isn't this character going to be more, like, going to be around more? But she's not.
Yeah,
for now.
She dies like in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. Very, very, very attractive lady.
Boy, howdy.
First time, I think it's one of the first times I've ever seen kind of that kind of nudity in a mainstream type movie. I was like, whew.
Oh, well, at that point, had you not seen Life Force yet?
I've seen Life Force, but
There's something different about it, though, isn't it?
Well, we broke down Life Force,
Yeah.
and if you guys have not listened to that episode, go back and listen to it. It's not sexy at all. Like,
No.
the way it's very uncomfortable, actually. This one is, like, kind of sexy.
Yeah, no, this is beautiful. I mean, everything about this movie is beautiful, from the sex scenes to the people in it, or at least our leads, and to, like, the violence. Everything in this movie is beautiful.
Right. Life is Beautiful. Academy Award winner.
There you go. That was the name of it. There you go. Sergio Bergergiak.
Starring Reich Rockovich. And Fakor.
It's Fakor. The next day, the chief of police and the town doctor ask Francesco what happened last night. The cemetery man tells the chief exactly what happened, but the officer doesn't believe him. The doctor says that the exact cause of death was her heart stopping from fear. The bite didn't kill her. She died while making love. That's all the chief needed to know to drop Francesco as a suspect. Apparently, it's common knowledge around town that Francesco is impotent. Wow. And that's something that, so moving forward, his character's known for being impotent, although he's not really.
It's a weird, side note. I mean, it plays into the plot
point
later. Yeah, but it's such an odd thing to, bring. I'm like, okay, sure.
And the fact that, it's town-wide common knowledge,
Yeah, he's the town joke in a way.
Yeah, pretty much. Basically. And also, too, real quick, Zach, this movie feels very episodic and not quite like a normal, 3-act structure, movie tale. It's very much like chunk by chunk by chunk. And I think they're kind of broken up by the different versions of she.
Yeah. True.
So apparently she had no friends and no relatives to take care of the funeral arrangements, so Francesco offers to keep her at the cemetery and take care of it. The chief now has to focus his efforts on finding a killer that's on the loose. Cut to She's body under a thin sheet in the ossuary. Francesco is keeping watch over her with his revolver close at hand. He confesses to her dead body that he lied about having a degree in biology. He never even finished high school. Also, he never read more than 2 books in his life. One, he never finished, and the second one was the phone book. Kind of like me. I've only read like 20 books in my life. See, I related to Cemetery Man so much.
That's not true. You've read all of Robert Ortiz's books and all of David Iron's books.
Yes, you're right. You're right, buddy. You're right.
We read a lot of books. We do.
I'm well read. I've read a lot of comic books in my day.
There you go.
Go.
Can I read it on my tablet? I don't like to feel the paper. It makes me uncomfortable.
I love reading comic books on my tablet. They look freaking amazing.
I know. You love reading them on your tablet. And I'm like, physical, dude?
Yeah. Where the hell am I supposed to put... I have like 50 long boxes in my mom's basement. Where the hell am I supposed to put those?
Your walls have insulation. You take that out and put things in there. That's what I'm going to do with my walls. I've been trying to talk Kristen into like cutting the walls open, putting the Blu-rays in there.
So when I was staying at Zach's place, I was like, where's all his Blu-rays? Because I know he buys them. They're all like in various boxes under beds and things like that. And I'm like, oh, buddy, oh my God.
They're all pretty much in the same place. Pretty much. I know, it kills
What was
me.
it, Deranged we were trying to find? And you're like, where the hell's the records from?
Where the hell's the records from? I'm like, wait. And they're all organized and in alphabetical order and categorical order. Yeah, sure.
Sure.
And yeah, Rick Rosovich, Cyrano Debogomich.
Sergio Bagurgiak.
Cyrus Bogdanovich.
Cyrus Bogdanovich. Oh, crap. As Francesco is sitting there, she slowly sits up. He pleads with her that he doesn't want to do it. Francesco raises his revolver and covers his eyes as he shoots she in the head. But it isn't a direct hit. It's more like a graze, but it still takes her down.
And the graze comes back.
Yep. That's why I said, so it still takes her down. Well, we'll get clarity on this very soon.
Corey's looking at me like, do I need to repeat that? No.
Cut to Francisco and Nagi burying She. Later that day, the two arrive in town because Francisco promised Nagi ice cream. Again, the cemetery man is mocked by the locals as he walks past them, but this time we have a better understanding why. It's because he's impotent, and they all know it. The duo don't make it to the ice cream shop, though. Francisco is stopped by the mayor and sits down at the outdoor table with him. With him, the chief of police, and the doctor we saw earlier to discuss how things are at the cemetery. Real quick, Zach, the doctor with like the orange hair, the mayor, and I believe the chief of police are all either stand-up comedians or kind of like do comedy movies, because Michele Soavi specifically said he wanted comedians because like this movie it has this dark humor, this like dry British like wit to it. And he's like, they're going to be able to understand how to like portray these characters better than like a dramatic actor. Cause he doesn't want them to be dramatic. They're supposed to be absurd.
Yeah. I mean, the detective has like a New York accent, which is hilarious.
Yeah. That's great.
That was my first giveaway for like, wait, is that his real voice? Because he's talking like this, you know, he sounds like Columbo.
Yeah, he does have a little Columbo accent to him.
Got a second? I want to talk to you about something.
Yeah, you got a second? Hold on now.
Yeah,
just one more thing.
Just one more thing, yeah.
Except, as far as his deduction skills go, he is the exact opposite of Columbo.
Yeah, he's more like Balumbo, which is what Corey would call him because he butchers every name. Oh, is that? I love that show, Balumbo. Yeah.
Yeah, what's it, Balumbo? Yeah, that guy with the lazy eye, Balumbo.
Yeah, you know, Balumbo. Yeah.
Oh,
Stram Spielberg. Yeah, I love that director. It's turning into a Brule show.
It is. I am Brule. I is Brule. Bringo.
4 of paper equals 1 of coin, and 4 of coin equals 1 of paper. Damn it! I crushed
1
it.
of paper.
Ruined it. Go sign up to our Patreon and we'll break down a Randangle for you.
Oh, you pulled a J at the end of Clerks where he's trying to tell the joke about, what do you say? Don't. My grandma always said, don't buy milk when they got the cow for free. Oh, I fucked it up or something like that. But because Jason Mewes actually fucked it up and they kept it in.
I love that. I love it.
Me too. So they're discussing how things are at the cemetery. The mayor's teenage daughter, Valentina, is there as well, and Nagi is immediately in love. Unfortunately for her, whenever Nagi gets excited, he throws up. Have you ever thrown up on a girl that you were trying to impress?
No, what the hell? No.
Have you ever thrown up on a girl, period? Like being sick or something?
No, I've never.
Drunk?
Nope.
Oh. I got so drunk on my 22nd birthday.
Oh boy, here we go.
The reason that I can't drink tequila even to this day is because that was the last thing I had, and I threw up that night. I don't remember any of it, but apparently I threw up all over my then girlfriend, would-be wife, then ex-wife. I threw up all over her face and head while she was sleeping. And then she gave me the trash can to vomit into, which I did.
Yep.
She went to the bathroom to go shower all the vomit out of her head. I sang a little song as I pushed past her and dumped my bucket full of vomit into the tub, which then she had to unclog with her finger before she could take a shower, rinsing all the vomit off of her head. And this lady would go on to marry me. And then I would go on to divorce her.
We're losing a lot of followers after that.
I was 22. This was like almost half my life ago. More than half my life ago.
Good for you, buddy.
You go do that.
You go puke on somebody.
Not my finest hour.
Where was Ultra Magnus when we needed him to light your finest hour, like your darkest hour?
As Valentina falls over, covered in Nagi's puke, she's rescued by local hunky boy Claudio, and the two speed away on his motorcycle. Nagi runs away from embarrassment, and Francesco has to chase him down in his car. He tells Nagi, first love doesn't count. It's the last love that counts.
It's really funny, like this moment, because it happens so fast, and it's so cartoonish. Because like he shows up, she hops on his Vespa or whatever, and they take off. It's like, yay, here we go. And what happens next is amazing.
Well, I gotta say, Zach, like she vomits, she's like touching it in her hand, and he's like, Claudio's like, oh, look, come on with it. He reaches out, she grabs his hand with her vomit, like with Nagi's vomit still on her hand, and then she gets on his back. I would be like, bitch, you need to go rinse off first.
That's
what my girlfriend at the time in college did, or tried to do.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, she.
Oh my God. Later, we see Francisco trying to console Nagi through the floorboards of his little house while the assistant cries in his bed in the basement. He reminds Nagi that they all end up here in the cemetery sooner or later, often sooner than later. Hey everybody, Corey here. I just want to let you know that we'll be right back after these short messages.
Hey everybody, I'm Tim.
And I'm Dean.
And we're the hosts of Talking Back. We're a retro-based podcast covering movies, comics, video games, and more.
Check us out every Monday where we hit the rewind button and dig into some of our favorite content from the past. We like to keep things fun, lighthearted, and informative.
Do you feel like you need more nostalgia in your life? Then check out Talking Back. We're available everywhere podcasts are found.
Have you been wondering where's the beef? Well, on our podcast, Throwback Trivia Takedown, you might just find that out, as well as some other things about the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
We're a nostalgic-based trivia show that pits two challengers head-to-head in a duel of the decades, with categories ranging from movies, TV, and music, to slang, food, and fashion. You're sure to get the best in retro-themed trivia.
So strap on your jelly shoes, grab a Surge, and walk like an Egyptian to your favorite podcast app and check out Throwback Trivia Takedown.
I heard even Mikey likes it.
And now, back to the show. Cut to Valentina holding on to Claudio as they ride his motorcycle through the winding roads of their little town. She's telling him to go faster. Claudio does, and they crash right into a bus that's rounding a corner. Claudio is killed, Valentina is decapitated, and the bus loses control and flies off the road, killing all the Boy Scouts inside.
It's like a Final Destination moment.
Dude, totally fucking Final Destination. Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if Final Destination 2 didn't get its opening inspiration from this.
Oh, yeah. It's so funny. This scene is hilarious.
I mean, dude, and she gets her head cut off, like, and Claudio's like all mangled and like part of his motorcycle, sort of, which sort of reminds me of A Nightmare on Elm Street 5 when the guy gets sort of fused to the motorcycle. Or is that part 6? One of those.
I think it's 4 or 5.
Yeah,
4 or 5.
One of my least favorite ones.
God, well, that franchise pisses me off so much because it just kills off so many of the fun, cool like heroes.
Yeah.
It's all about Freddy. It's all about Freddy. I would have fixed that franchise by having a Tommy Jarvis type character in there. They never did that. I mean, they did with Heather Langenkamp, but she wasn't very strong. No,
yeah.
she wasn't strong like Tommy Jarvis was. You know.
Yeah. It's funny. The older I get, I know people love Dream Warriors and everything, but man, the more times I watch it, the more I love Part 2. I love those weird movies that take place after the first movie, but before the franchise has like solidified everything. You know, it's. I think they're interesting.
Yeah, I literally have watched both of those within the past year, and I think they're way more enjoyable now than I think they were back in the day for me, because I'm looking at it through a different lens. But yeah, these franchises like. I wish the Michael Bay reboot for Friday the 13th was fantastic. I thought that was really cool. I'm like,
I love that.
You could do that with Nightmare on Elm Street, but they did not.
They made the worst of the worst. I don't know what's worse, Rob Zombie's Halloween or the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Man, that remake of Nightmare on Elm Street has no soul whatsoever.
I think I have a harder time with Rob Zombie's Halloween because he thinks it's so good. He's so proud of it. And the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, you never hear anyone talk about that. Like they just let it go. They're like, yeah, it was really shitty. We're just gonna. But there's a lot of people out there that like the Rob Zombie Halloween, and I'm like, you're just wrong. That is one reboot that I will happily argue with somebody about and say, no, you're wrong. It's not good.
I used to kind of like it back in the day. I have gotten more and more sour to it. And I've also gotten more and more sour to Rob Zombie movies over time. It's sad because as a kid, I loved Rob Zombie as an artist. I loved White Zombie. I loved his music. And I loved his music videos and everything. Like I loved his artwork and everything. I think at this point, the only thing I really kind of like about the Rob Zombie Halloween, I liked how big Michael Myers was, but I actually kind of liked, and I don't like Part 2. I hate Part 2, but I liked how he looked as hobo Michael Myers with half the mask ripped and kind of Michael Myers having a beard underneath. I thought that was interesting enough, you know, but ultimately I'm not going to defend those movies at all.
No, I love Rob Zombie's spirit. I do.
Yeah. His head's in the right place, and he loves his wife. You know what? People give him shit for always putting Sherry Moon in everything. You know what? I'm proud of him. Like, that man fucking loves his wife. So, you know what? And he puts her up on a pedestal. I give him props for that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just not, bad to look at, so I don't got a problem.
You know who doesn't is Cyril DeBergerac, yeah.
God. Cut to everyone. It's so brutal. We don't even know who we're talking about anymore. Like the name has gone so far now that it's.
Meanwhile, Robert Ortiz is like, "This is why I pay you guys."
Yeah, Sergio DeBergerac. You think that's funny? That's a joke. Is that a joke to you?
Robert's like, "I just wrote a joke book based on all the bad jokes you told on this. I just wrote a joke book with David Irons. And Diallo's doing the comic book version of it."
Right, exactly. Cut to everyone being buried at the cemetery at the same time. It's a massive funeral procession.
So funny.
Yeah. Francesco and the chief of police share some gallows humor, but then the officer leaves so the cemetery man can do his job. Francesco tells Nagi they're going to need a lot of bullets. During the mass funeral, we see a young woman distraught by Claudio's death. She throws herself on his mangled motorcycle, which he's being buried with. Claudio's mother wrenches her away, telling her that Claudio was promised to the mayor's daughter, not you. We see that Valentina is being buried in a glass coffin and her head has been stitched back onto her body. The mayor is afraid his daughter's death will negatively affect his re-election. Nagi smiles when he sees her in the glass coffin. Later that day, after the mass funeral, as Francesco is walking through the cemetery, he runs into the girl that was crying on Claudio's motorcycle. She asks Francesco if it's true that the dead come back to life here at night. She says she has to know if Claudio really loved her or not. Francesco says, "Go away. I haven't got time for the living."
Go away.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, what was that voice?
I don't know. He kind of has that tone about him.
That's Zach's sexy voice.
Yeah. Corey, it's time to record.
I will be coming on the Zoom.
I'm coming.
Cut to Francesco taking a shower while Nagi watches TV in the basement with his headphones on. The lights go out and Francesco sees a shadow move past the shower curtains. He opens it to reveal a Boy Scout zombie standing there. Francesco quickly dispatches it, but then sees more of them in his house. I like how they're all making funny biting sound. They're all like going,
yeah,
you know, it's like automated. It's just them biting.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. It's wild. I like that.
And props to any movie that you know shoots kids in the face. And speaking of Falchi, you know, The Beyond, when that chick gets her face blasted off,
it looks very similar.
I feel like Michele Soavi's Italian horror roots are showing in this film.
Yeah, for sure. And like the head blasting scenes are fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, it's all even though it's not so bloody like we said earlier, it's like sort of blood and mud put together. Yeah. They all have great head pops though.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Francesco gets his gun and blows all their brains out. He yells down to Nagi that they came back faster than usual. Hence why Francesco wasn't prepared. Unfortunately, his assistant can't hear him with the headphones on. Francesco runs downstairs just as Nagi is about to be attacked by a zombie nun. Clearly played by a guy, by the way.
Yeah.
That's funny. The cemetery man shoots but misses because he's tackled by another Boy Scout zombie. Francesco knocks the little returner off of him, then bashes the nun zombie's face in with a large metal pot. Another Boy Scout zombie walks in and Francesco shoots it in the head and it falls into Nagi's lap. This doesn't break the TV spell on him though. That happens when the dead boy's body hits the TV remote, unmuting it and startling Francesco. He spins around and shoots the TV. Nagi looks at his destroyed boob tube and cries. Francesco tells him he needs him upstairs in 5 minutes. They have work to do. And I mean, Zach, the action is awesome in this movie. Like it's a lot of fun, but it's also like comedic at times. But there also still feels like there's stakes. It doesn't feel like nothing is going to happen. You know what I mean? But even though it is kind of tongue in cheek at the same time.
Yeah, and I think when I originally saw this movie back in the day, I was anticipating it being more serious in tone, but now knowing that it's not, it makes it more enjoyable knowing that this is a comedy. Like you cannot go into this thinking it's serious.
No.
It's all wacky.
And I'm with you. I think the first time I watched it, I was actually a little startled by it. I don't think I loved it the first time I watched it, but I knew that there was something there. So I watched it again, and that's when it sort of like hit me. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Fangoria really led into that fact that like, I remember they had the picture of Anna Falchi when she's in zombie form. I remember that was a picture that they used. And then just, I think your typical, you know, promo still of Rupert Everett standing by the, you know, the statues or something, you know.
Totally misrepresenting it, but that was typical of Fangoria at the time.
Right.
Oh, we're going to put Jurassic Park on the cover of Fangoria. And you're like, Jurassic Park on the cover of Fangoria? Lame.
And you interviewed Tony Timpone a long time ago. Like, it was the first interview we did for the podcast. And, like, I wasn't able to do it with you because we didn't even have, like, the ability, like, set up for me to actually, you know, call in and do it as well. But didn't he say that, like, this era of Fangoria, like, not a lot of horror movies were coming out at the time, and they still had a monthly magazine that they had to produce. So they kind of had to take sort of anything that had even just a little bit of blood in it and do a feature on it.
Yeah, they were doing like mainstream action movies. I think they
Right.
might even done The Matrix or something.
I feel like they did Memoirs of an Invisible Man or something.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's Carpenter, so it's a horror film. You're like,
Right.
no, what are you doing? No.
Yeah, that was rough times.
Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, Tony Timpone, by the way, is great, and I'm supposed to see him in October, so maybe we can do something with him in October.
That'd be really cool. I would love to talk to him. I mean, I'm friends with him on Instagram, but that doesn't mean anything.
At the time, yeah. Hopefully we can get him back on the show.
Okay, cool. Presumably, 5 minutes later, we see Francesco and Nagi walking around the cemetery looking for returners. They hear a woman sobbing and find Claudio's girlfriend lying down on his grave. Just then, Claudio bursts out of the ground, riding his motorcycle like a zombified Ghost Rider, but without the flaming head. But this zombie is probably my favorite one. There's a close-up shot of him. He has like a light in his eye, like a gauge or something in his eye. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is like, because this movie is so wacky. Did Hellraiser 3 come out around the same time? I feel like it did.
I believe it did, and yes, I know where you're going with this analogy.
I'm okay with this kind of wackiness. I wasn't in Hellraiser 3. Hellraiser 3 had a CD player in his head. Like, so stupid. This is like, already we're kind of going down the stupid, silly route, so they're just embracing it.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, I'm with you. I remember Hellraiser 3 because I loved Hellraiser 2. I was a huge Hellraiser 2 fan. Hellraiser 3, I think I saw it like once or twice, and I was like, oh, this is lame.
I mean, Hellraiser 2 is the best Hellraiser movie.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because you actually get a world.
Yeah. Yeah. When they build like hell whenever, like you actually get to see it and shit. It's really cool.
Yeah. If y'all want to see a really great, maybe Clive Barker's best movie that he didn't direct.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I have a soft spot for Nightbreed, but I feel like when people talk about great sequels, great movie sequels, I feel like Hellraiser 2 doesn't get mentioned, but I feel like it should be.
Yeah, it doesn't ever get the love. I know what you're saying about Nightbreed. You agree, though, it's not his best work.
No, probably not. No. Rawhead Rex is his best work. Lord of Illusions is his best work.
I actually like Lord of Illusions.
I do too. I like Nyx. I like fucking, was it Van Buren or whatever his name is?
Get to see Scott Bakula in his buff glory.
I fucking hate Scott Bakula.
Wow.
Yeah.
I won't tell him that if I ever get him on $2 late fee.
Oh,
by the way, my buddy Corey fucking hates you.
He says you suck.
Thanks, Corey. You never saw Necessary Roughness?
I hate him and I hate Jason Segel. Both.
Oh, I hate Jason Segel. I do hate him. Maybe I just hate him because he's got a big cock.
Does he?
Yeah. Did you ever see Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
I fucking hated that movie.
Yeah,
I saw it, but I don't remember his cock.
I did too. I just don't like. I don't like that. I don't like Jason Segel. I don't like what's this guy Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, I love Ryan Reynolds.
I know you do. I know you do. Well, I'll give you my Scott Bakula, and
you take my Ryan Reynolds. We'll swap.
Yes.
The groupie chases after Claudio, begging for him to take her with him. She trips, and he stops his motorcycle and holds out his hand to her. She climbs on, and they drive off while Francesco shoots at them and misses. Francesco and Nagi track down the two star-crossed lovers. Claudio is chewing on the groupie's arm. When Francesco raises his gun, the young lady pleads with him, "Mind your business. I shall be eaten by whoever I please."
That's one of the funniest lines in the movie.
Francesco whispers, "This is my business. They pay me for it." Then shoots Claudio in the head. Unfortunately, the bullet ricochets and hits the groupie in the head too, killing both with one shot. Francesco looks down in shock. The living dead and the dying living are all the same. But disposing of dead people is a public service, whereas you're in all sorts of trouble if you kill someone when they're still alive. The two men rebury Claudio and the groupie with him. This way they'll be together forever. And I feel like this is kind of like the beginning of his sort of descent, like he killed her by accident, but this is not going to be the last human that he kills.
No.
The next day, we see Nagi playing a homemade violin over Valentina's grave. He looks down at his pocket watch, then decides to dig her up instead of waiting for her to come back. When Nagi eventually gets to the glass coffin, Valentina opens her eyes. The simple Jack assistant, uses his shovel to break the glass, then reaches in and pulls just her head out. This doesn't seem to bother Valentina as the two of them get reacquainted.
That's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's all you need. The scene ends with Nagi walking to the cemetery playing his homemade violin, while Valentina's head crawls/floats behind him across the grass. Which, as a kid, I was like, oh, that's weird. I don't really get it. Now, as I watch it, I'm 47 now. I was like, not even 20 when this came out originally. I adore this movie now. I adore it for the fact that the head is crawling across the ground. But as a kid, that was one of the things I kind of didn't love about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, as a kid, again, tone, I blame Fangoria.
Right. Yeah, because you think it's just going to be this balls-out action horror movie.
Well, they're like, Michele Savoy, he's responsible for some of the craziest Italian horror films in the church and stage fright. And then you're like, cool, let's do... Oh, wait, what's going on here?
I really want you to see The Church, dude. I think you'll dig it. Especially, I know you like demons and everything. I think you'll dig this one.
If Dustin was here right now, he'd say, you're never watching it.
I know. You're not going to watch it unless we hang out and I bring it with me, or we break it down for a movie to do.
And if y'all want me to watch The Church,
yeah,
then sign up to our highest tier at patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. Sign up today.
That's right. Make Zach watch The Church. I will happily break it down.
We're watching Bill Lustig movies right now because Bill Lustig is a part of our tour de force, which is our lower tier on Podcasting After Dark, mid tier, I think.
Oh yeah,
and,
on Patreon, yeah.
Yeah, on Patreon. And we're watching all of his filmography. We've done it with John Carpenter. We did it with Don Coscarelli, and now we're on to Bill Lustig. We talk about the movies. We don't break them down, but we talk about them, and we have a discussion about like, does one movie flow into the other? Or do they have a signature style, et cetera, et cetera. We just watched Maniac. That's the newest one. And the next one, I believe, will be Vigilante. So if you sign up to Patreon, you can listen to us talk about Bill Lustig and all his gory glory.
Yeah, I mean, if you sign up now, you get all the John Carpenter ones. You get all the Don Coscarelli episodes, which is, almost, 30 episodes, I believe, or something like that. So, yeah.
And we may tackle an Italian director after Bill Lustig.
Yeah, who knows?
Like Falchi.
Yeah. Yes, dude, let's add Falchi to the list because I've always wanted to see a lot of his, the New York Ripper, was it Black Cat or something like that? And,
we can watch them all. And
don't torture a duckling and stuff.
Don't watch these movies on a full stomach.
Yeah, on a Falchi stomach?
On a Falchi stomach with Anna Falchi. Felching. Wait, what? Nope.
That night, as Francesco is hunting returners through the cemetery, we see Nagi put together the skull puzzle Francesco's been working on. As the cemetery man walks back in, Nagi knocks the puzzle apart. Francesco laughs and says, "No use you trying to help me, little thing. If I can't do it, imagine you." He's so condescending about it, too.
I mean, he's just kind of a cocky dude. He does remind me, like, back in the day, I could see someone working at a cemetery having no friends, no personal life, being in their own little world.
But being cocky as fuck.
Yeah. Actually, I kind of know people like that.
I know. They just didn't work at a cemetery, but they were cocky as hell.
They worked at a video store.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Cemetery man, he has video store guy vibes.
Cemetery man, video store guy.
There you go. Later, Nagi makes 2 large plates of pasta for dinner. Francesco thinks one of them is for him, but Nagi just takes them both to his basement living quarters. Francesco looks through the floorboards to see who else is down there, but hears a sound come from the cemetery. Francisco eventually comes across an open grave. He looks around and finds that Anna Falchi has come back as a zombie. She flies over to him and grabs him. And this is that's the shot that we saw in Fangoria, is that shot with like she's like backlit, the lights like behind her, and all of her wrappings are kind of like fluttering in the wind and everything.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
And she's got roots sticking out of her, of course, and everything.
Yeah, and also too, like, it's such a short scene. I want to almost see more of it.
Right, because she looks so freaking cool. Francisco says, "We can't. I'm alive and you're dead." She says, "I'm not prejudiced, my love." They start kissing, and she takes the revolver out of his pants and throws it into a pool of water. She then rips open his shirt and takes a huge bite out of his shoulder. Francisco falls to his knees as she smiles with blood coming down her mouth. Just then, Nagi comes to the rescue, killing She with a shovel. Francisco looks up at Nagi and says in horror that he killed her. The first time, when her husband bit her, she wasn't really dead. When she woke up and I shot her, she was alive. I killed the only woman I ever loved. I shot her with my eyes closed. Didn't aim for the head. That's why she came back. Zach, the first time I watched it, I kind of didn't like pick up on all of that. You watch it now and it's like, damn, like that sucks, man.
Yeah, I literally didn't pick up on it until I watched it this time around. And yeah, that's rough.
Which, not quite his fault because the doctor did pronounce her dead.
Yeah, what does he know? He's an impotent grave guy.
Who's only read a book in his life, and that was the phone book.
He's an impotent doofus.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. We see Francisco cleaning his wound in the bathroom. He wonders if he'll come back as a returner now when he dies. And he wonders if Nagi will be able to crush his head in with a shovel if he does. Probably not. As Francisco walks out of the bathroom, Nagi swings a shovel at his head. "Hey, I'm not dead, you idiot. A bite can't kill you." And that was a good piece of editing because he's like, right when he wonders probably not, he almost gets his head taken off by Nagi.
Yeah.
The next day, as Francisco is burning leaves, he is visited by death itself. The being forms itself from the ashes and says to the cemetery man in a loud, booming voice, "Stop killing the dead. They're mine. If you don't want the dead to come back to life, why don't you just kill the living? Shoot them in the head." And
stop playing with yourself. It is God.
Dude, I like the way death looks in this movie.
So cool. Yeah. But then you realize at the end, well, is this all in his head? Because at the end, there's whatever.
Yeah, open to interpretation.
Open to Cyrano de Bangadang.
Cyrano de Dangadang. Later, we see Francisco at his kitchen table making bullets. He gets a phone call from his only friend Franco checking up on him. As the two men talk, Francisco shoots zombie after zombie coming through his front door. The camera pans outside and we see everyone from the bus accident is coming back all at once. After some time has passed, Francisco starts falling asleep while talking on the phone. He tells his friend that one day his wife will grow tired of him and his daughter will hate him. And then Franco will truly be free. Free to see what the rest of the world looks like. Franco asks, "What do you think the rest of the world looks like?" The phone drops as Francisco whispers, "Who knows if the rest of the world even exists?" Later that night, we see Francisco drive into town and shoot all the assholes that would always mock him. And he says to himself, "At times, I get ahead of my work." And now this scene, Michele, in the making of documentary or the interview, Michele Soavi said, this is when reality is starting to blur for Francisco. And that because as he's shooting everybody, he's saying bang, bang, he's saying the words bang as he's firing. And then you notice how the camera flips upside down as he drives away because his whole world is now turned upside down.
Literal, but very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And now these are good bloody headshots.
Yeah, this is a really shocking moment. And then you're about to soon find out that it's all not just in his head. It really did happen.
Exactly. Now, Zach, as a kid too, another thing that's kind of odd about this movie is first time I'm watching this and I'm like, so he's the protagonist? Am I supposed to be rooting for him now? You know what I mean?
Well, it's very twisted. I don't think there really is a protagonist in this movie.
Death is probably the protagonist.
I think so.
And again, like I said, as a kid, some of these things confused and angered me. But as an adult, I adore these things. This is the stuff that I adore about this movie.
Yeah, this is like a mature, thought-provoking art house film. It's not made for, dweeby 17-year-old audience.
Yeah. Which is funny because The Church is definitely much more of a straightforward Italian, Dario Argento-esque splatterfest,
Yeah, I'm surprised this movie didn't get more like kind of critical attention. Maybe it would now if they put it in the theaters now.
Yeah, maybe. The next morning, Francesco is woken up by the chief of police banging at his door.
Yeah, she.
Just one more thing.
Just one more thing.
The officer asked where he was last night. His car was seen driving around town after 7 people were murdered. Francesco says he was on the phone with his friend Franco. The chief doesn't actually think Francesco killed anyone. He thinks it was Nagi, and he wants to question him. When Francesco goes into the basement to get Nagi, he sees that his assistant has Valentina's head living in his destroyed TV set. He doesn't seem surprised, though. He tells Nagi that he had a dream that he shot and killed 7 people last night. I love he doesn't even ask about Valentina's head. He just tells him, because he's self-centered. He's very much a self-centered character, and he doesn't... He cares about Nagi at the end. He comes to a realization about Nagi at the end of the movie. But here, he's a very self-centered bastard.
Oh, yeah, totally. He's not terribly likable.
When you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he looks cool.
Yeah, exactly. He's got rocking abs.
Look at you with your ab talk.
The chief of police yells to Francisco from outside that the mayor is here. Cut to Francisco digging up Valentina's body for the mayor so he can use her death as a publicity stunt for his reelection. The chief of police is with them, as well as a news reporter. When Francesco eventually digs down to the body, they find it headless. The mayor asks, "What's the meaning of this?" The cemetery man just shrugs. I do like he was like, "I don't know." Doesn't even try to make up an excuse. He's like,
I don't know.
Just then, the mayor hears his daughter's voice and goes to find her head in Nagi's room. "Oh my God, Valentina, what are you doing on TV?" And I love how she says, "I'm rotting fast, Daddy." She is very much Veruca Salt-esque.
Yeah, totally. That's a great comparison.
And I love how he just thinks she's on TV.
Yeah.
Valentina tells her father that she wants to marry Nagi. He says, "Not as long as I've got a breath in my body." Valentina says she'll fix that. Her head flies out of the TV and bites the mayor on the neck. The mayor sees Francesco and pleads for the engineer to help him. "I'm not an engineer." The cemetery man shoots Valentina in the head, much to Nagi's chagrin. The chief of police walks in and looks down at the mayor's dead body and asks who took the bite out of his neck. Francesco says it wasn't him or Nagi. The chief can take a mold of his teeth and we'll see that they don't match the bite. Which I think is kind of clever. And the engineer thing, by the way, there's this sort of reoccurring gag where people call him an engineer, and he's like, "I'm not an engineer." But I just included that line here. But it runs through the movie, but there's a lot of gags and stuff that's running through the movie. Guys and gals, just watch the damn thing,
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of little subtle things throughout that, we may not necessarily cover in the breakdown because it's so kind of under the radar.
Yeah, and it's like what I said to Luna, where I was like, yeah, it's a zombie movie, but it's a whole lot more.
Oh, big time.
Later, as Francisco is comforting Nagi, he says, "Do you know what my mother's maiden name was? She was called Dellamore. That means love. You're not the only person in the world who lost a lover, Nagi." Later, we see Francisco patrolling the cemetery. He hears someone trying to climb over the fence and spots the zombie mayor trying to leave. "You're supposed to be setting a good example. Now, will you get back into your coffin immediately?" The mayor says, "You can't stop me. You owe your job to me, remember?" Francesco gives him one more warning or he'll shoot. "You can't. I'm the mayor." Francesco says X and blows his brains out.
It's hilarious.
Sort of a little bit of Return of the Living Dead-ish with the zombies being able to talk.
Yeah. Oh, big time. That's a nice connection for sure. Because they're not Walking Dead, right. They're kind of living, breathing, so to speak.
Cut to the next day, and the town's new mayor shows up to talk to Francesco about a report he filed stating that the dead are coming back to life in the cemetery. Francesco says he didn't file it, and the mayor asks him to sign a denial report. The cemetery man knows that his only friend, Franco, must have filed it. As Francisco walks the new mayor back to his car, the mayor's personal secretary gets out of the back seat and greets Francisco. It's Anna Falchi, she number 2.
Cue the Careless Whisper music. Touche,
my friend, touche. It's a great song, by the way.
It is a great song.
Later that night, we see Francisco laying in bed thinking about the mayor's assistant. He wonders if he'll ever see her again. I think maybe him wondering if they'll ever see her again is like, again, this is like episode number 2 now or something. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like him saying that is always like something to do with the next episode.
Right.
Just then, there's a knock at the front door. He answers it with his gun drawn. It's the mayor's assistant. She passes out at the sight of the revolver in her face. Francisco catches her and drags her to his bed where she wakes up. Anna Falchi, a.k.a. she number 2, wakes up and says that strange things have been happening to her ever since she came to this town. It feels like she's been here before. It's as if she's loved Francisco forever. He tells her that he loves her too, and they embrace. She asks if what she's heard about him is true. She can only love an impotent man. I like men, but their manhood terrifies me. It's sort of a phobia I have. Francesco begrudgingly says that yes, he is impotent, and she asks him to marry her. Zach, can you only love an impotent man?
They got pills for that now.
They do. They actually do.
You got to work up to it, too.
Cut to Francisco talking
Not
to the
gonna lie, that's kind of a dream for some dudes.
What?
Like, do you have nothing to compare?
Well, yeah. So, like, yeah, having sex with a virginal woman, right?
Yeah, I would. It's gross.
Zach's like, can't get canceled today. Not gonna get canceled. Corey will get canceled. Not me today. No. That's what I picture Zach. Right before we start recording, you staring in like your like the mirror in your bathroom,
hitting
like,
my chest.
I'm not gonna get canceled today. Corey will get canceled. Not me.
I'm like Mark Wahlberg in Fear. I'm like hitting my pounding my chest.
You're punching. Yeah.
And then I blame it on Corey.
Fear and Boogie Nights are peak Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. Though I've heard this one where he's in the flight plan or whatever with the bald head.
I heard it's wild, yeah.
I want to see it so bad. Directed by Mel Gibson.
I was going to say it's one directed by Mel Gibson. I kind of want to watch it. Cut to Francisco talking to the doctor about removing his penis. When the doctor refuses...
That's called castration, not... That's castration.
Yeah, and he does want that. He wants castration. It's not impotence. That's castration.
I know. Well, he is an idiot, so...
I think he's actually dumber than Nagi.
Yeah, I think he is. And then he gets reset at the end, and Nagi does too.
Yeah, they reverse roles. Yeah, I totally agree with you. When the doctor refuses to remove the cemetery man's beautiful erect cock, he offers a shot instead. It will make Francisco flaccid for at least a month, but it has to be inserted directly into the penis itself.
Aye.
Francisco and I both scream at the doc plunging the needle into his nether regions.
Because he drops the needle at one point, and like you think about how dirty the floor probably is. The guy's shaking when he's doing it. It's hilarious and disturbing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember once I was in the hospital in the ER, and the old man next to me had to pass stones through his penis and having to push him out. And I just hear this, and I felt so bad for the guy.
Drink water, guys. I don't ever want to have to pass kidney stones.
Drink water. Get yourself one of those hydration bottles that tells you when to drink every hour.
Yeah, just drink water. Later, we see Francisco lying in bed with a fever as Nagi feeds him soup.
Yeah, because he's got a dirty needle shoved up his pee hole.
Yeah, the doctor's shot gave him an infection. When the mayor's assistant knocks at the door, Francisco tells Nagi to turn her away. Some time has passed and Francisco is feeling better. He goes to tell Nagi and finds him filling in a grave. The sweet old lady that would visit them every day has died. That's kind of sad. She was nice.
Yeah, that's like a little sympathetic moment. It's like when we watched Arachnophobia and the old lady dies, and you're like, aw.
Yeah. It's the only part of the movie that was good. That and John Goodman. All of 15 minutes of them, you know?
One part of the movie that was any good. See? Yeah.
Get away from me, boy. You bother me.
What are you, W.C. Fields
Yeah,
now?
I fucking love W.C. Fields, man. As a kid, fucking loved him so much.
Something romantic.
Later, Francisco runs into she number 2 in the cemetery.
I think it's pronounced her.
Her.
He runs into her.
There you go. She
No.
tells... I know, Zach. She tells him she has to talk to him. This is probably the most problematic bit of dialogue in the entire movie. She's been cured of her phobia, and I do not condone this. This is not me.
Yeah, keep going.
Zach's like, I'm not getting canceled.
Mark Wahlberg.
She's been cured of her phobia thanks to being raped by the mayor. It turns out she actually liked it and can't be with someone that is impotent. But nothing has changed between them. She still loves Francesco, even though she's going to marry the mayor. Francesco falls to his knees in disbelief as she walks away, telling him that nothing has changed. Now, the only thing weird about this is, like, she never dies. This number 2 never dies.
No, she doesn't. But I'm sure he wanted to kill her at that point.
Yeah.
So we're not allowed to laugh at this scene because it's messed up. But you still kind of like, I draw the connection to this. The other day I was at the gym and Three's Company was on. And the opening to the show, they're showing all the characters, right? And they show Larry Dallas. They're all at the Santa Monica Pier, which is super nostalgic vibe for me, by the way. And Larry Dallas they're all on the bumper cars, and Larry's going to get in a bumper car, and he sees from behind, it looks like a woman in the bumper car, and he gets in, and beautiful head of hair, and the head turns, and it's a dude with a mustache, and it closes up on Larry's face, and he like looks super uncomfortable, and you're like, this is hilarious. Cut to the first scene, and Janet's working out in the living room, and Jack comes out, and he gooses her. He's like, hut 1, hut 2, because she's bent over, and he's like, hut 1, hut 2, and she's like, Jack, I'm like, whoa, this is problematic too. And then she's like telling him that he should work out, and he goes, well, why don't you show me some of your moves? And she starts doing this like kind of flywheel thing, and he's like watching her, and he's like, I'm getting a workout just watching, or something like that. And it's just like, I mean, I'm laughing my ass off at the gym, but I look around and like I see all these scowls on people's faces as they're on the treadmills, and like, is it wrong to laugh at this?
No, it's not. I fucking love Three's Company, man. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
I loved Married with Children. I loved Al Bundy. I loved No Ma'am. I loved the whole thing. I loved all of it.
I mean, like, you could yeah. So, anyways, maybe shouldn't still laugh at what her went through too, but still, yeah.
Yeah. And again, this book was written in 1983. It's of the time.
What a time.
What a time to be alive, baby. For some people, not for others.
Yeah, for some, yes. For white men. For white straight men.
Yeah, white straight men, yes.
That's it. Sorry, guys.
Cut to Francisco lying on the grave next to the original she. You look for death in the clear night. You tell her you still love her, that you are her slave, that she is still your queen. Death, death, death the whore.
Wow.
Yeah. We see Francisco driving through town looking at hookers, but nothing excites him, so he ends up at the local bar. There he meets 2 young ladies looking for a lift home, Magda and Laura. Laura just happens to be Anna Falchi, a.k.a. she number 3. Of course, he agrees to drive them home. But see, so now we actually get this she's name as Laura.
Yes.
I almost wish, because we didn't get she number's 2 name, I wish that Magda just introduced herself and her friend. Like, it's not gonna lie, it kind of bothers me that there isn't this symmetry going through, that she never has a name, because she has a name here.
Because there's not symmetry, man.
Just log off now, buddy. You go out on a high note. That was it. That was perfect. Symmetry, man. Symmetry, man.
No, I agree. I agree. I don't get it either. But still, like, I do like the fact that she shows up, she, her, they, them. She's got to fix her freaking pronouns. And she, oh God, Laura Gemser shows up, and you're like, okay, now is it going to work out for him? Well, sort of.
And the only other weird thing is that now she's also inhabiting with like the she number 2 not dying. Like now she number 3, aka Laura Gemser, now they inhabit the same world together. Whereas with she number 2, she was like, I came to this town, and you kind of have an idea she came there when the first one died, right? And it's like, oh, this town is so strange, it has this hold on me. But yet now that one's still alive, and this one is now here as well. It kind of just doesn't have this consistency to it.
Well, if this movie was not a comedy, and if it was a drama horror, it would be easier to have these connections, these emotional connections. But you don't have emotional connections to these characters because it's a comedy.
Right.
Like, you're not invested in them.
The same way, you would be
the same way.
Yeah.
So you're not invested with her the same way because, like, her death in the first one, her walking away in the second one, they're treated in a comedic way, So it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I'd say that, like, because this she will not be around too long either. I think the first one, the widow I think that's the one that was probably his true love.
Yeah, but I will say this is one of the more entertaining moments.
Yeah.
Shocking and entertaining.
Magda and Laura invite Francisco up for a drink, and he obliges. Once upstairs, Francisco takes off his boots and puts them next to a portable heater, then splashes water on his face to sober up. Laura, on the other hand, has completely disrobed. The cemetery man says he's been taking medication and doesn't know if he can get it up. Smash cut to Francisco and Laura falling back into bed, naked and sweaty, and they're both out of breath. She says, I don't think your medication is working, which I thought was funny. He asks Laura if she loves him. She says, yes, if you stay the night. They start kissing again, and Laura asks if they can rest a bit. You've come 3 times already. Francisco replies, twice. The third one was faked. Have you ever faked an orgasm, Zach?
Yes.
Me too.
Get it over with. Okay, I gotta go.
A short time.
Oh, boy.
I love how we don't need to elaborate. Just yes, both of us, yes. Use your imagination for why.
Right.
A short time later, Francisco walks out of Laura's room to get some wine and sees Magda. The roommate tells Francisco that he can pay her instead of Laura. The cemetery man realizes that they are hookers, and Laura lied to him that she loves him. That's 150 euros, Magda says. Francisco asks if he could write a check. He then walks back into Laura's room, who's laying in bed half asleep. She asks him to get in bed and warm her up. Instead, Francisco puts the space heater in bed next to her and puts the covers over it. Now you'll be warm forever. He gets back into his car and drives away from the burning apartment. We hear screaming, and he says, this time I'm really through with love. Dude, that's a brutal kill for our protagonist of the movie. And she technically did nothing wrong,
No, I mean, she deceived him a little bit, but,
Yeah, I guess, but not warranted death,
No, of course. No, never. Is this thing on? Are you recording this? No, never.
Are you Sergio de Bergerac?
What kind of name is that?
Comanche Indian.
It's disturbing because you're like, no, this guy is not the hero of this journey.
No, I don't think
he's
he
a hero in his mind, but he's not a hero.
He's not a hero, no.
He's not even Stone Cold Steve Austin.
What?
What?
The next day at the cemetery, Francisco is visited by the chief of police. Just one more thing.
I want to talk to you about something. There's some weird things going on down here with the zombies, but we don't call them zombies because we don't want to just make a distinction between the two things. So I just want to talk to you about it for a second.
I just want to talk to you about it for a second. Just one more thing.
Nagini or Nagy or whatever it's called. You see me?
Were you a Columbo fan growing up? Did you watch it?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, me too.
I love all those shows. Murder, She Wrote and all that.
Yeah, I watched Murder, She Wrote with my grandma for sure.
I just bought, just arrived and I gave it to Dustin and Aaron, a Murder, She Wrote action figure.
Oh, that's cool.
With exchangeable heads, different reactions on her face, and
man.
she's got a full like actual sweater and type. She comes with a typewriter and a book and like.
I thought you were gonna say she's got a full bush.
I didn't ask them. They're gonna unbox it. I told them it'd be really funny to take, now that they have the doll, to take pictures like with their dogs, like in the background, have the doll like looking around a plant as the dogs are sleeping. Like, what's going on over there? Could really do all these funny like little images and whatnot.
Good old Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
I bet she fucked. I'm sure she fucked.
What?
What?
What's going on right now?
What's going on right now?
Where's Ron Dangle Badajrak?
God. Okay.
He's with Symmetry Man.
The Symmetry Man.
I need to talk to the Symmetry Man.
You mean Symmetry Man?
Yeah, it's what I said. Symmetry.
Oh, God, Jesus. All right, so the officer knows he was at the whorehouse last night because half of the check he wrote survived the fire. The only part that survived was literally his name.
So I love how he says, can I write you a check? And he actually did write a check.
He actually did write her a check.
What a doofus.
I know, he is a doofus. He's a hipster doofus.
With his rock hard abs. But that tracks, though. That tracks.
Yeah.
A lot of doofuses do have rock hard abs.
Yeah. The police also know Francisco didn't start the blaze because they already arrested the guilty party. After setting fire to the apartment, he went home, killed his wife and daughter, then turned himself in. He's at the hospital psychiatric ward. Francisco thinks to himself, somebody's stolen my crimes.
He didn't start the fire.
Mm-hmm.
It was always burning from a lunatic with a wife and kids.
Fade out. Cut to Francisco walking through the hospital with a purpose. A nurse tells him he can't see the killer because he's in a coma after drinking a bottle of iodine.
Iodine? You ever done that?
Drank iodine? No.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, why would you?
No, Zach, have you done that?
No, of course not.
Okay, God.
Drank a bottle of ketchup once.
Gross.
It turned me pink.
Gross. That's disgusting. That's horrible. Do you not like ketchup now because of that?
No, I still love ketchup. But I remember I was with a bunch of people. I'm like, hey, you guys dare me to drink this bottle of ketchup? And they're like, no. I'm like, of course you do. Come on.
I can do this.
How much money would you give me if I drink this bottle of ketchup? They're like, nothing.
None.
We're not going to dare you. And finally, I'm like, come on, who would pay me? And someone's like, I give you $20. And they're like, okay, I did it. I turned pink. They're like, you're turning pink. It was like in Willy Wonka. You're turning violet.
Daddy. I'm rotting fast, Daddy.
Exactly.
You're like, my stomach is rotting fast, Daddy.
Pretty much.
Oh, God, the acid in that, man. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, so gross. Gross.
Got to Prince. Okay, he's walking through the hallway with a purpose. Nurse tells him, okay, iodine. When Francisco finally makes it into the private room, he's shocked to see Franco lying there. Francisco pulls up a chair and sits next to his one and only friend. He lights a cigarette, then leans in and asks the man in the coma, what are you doing stealing my murders? What kind of fucking friend do you think you are? I suppose you thought you were doing me a favor. Just then, a nun walks in and yells at Francisco to put out his cigarette. The cemetery man pulls out his revolver and shoots her right through the eye without looking, blowing her brains out all over the curtains behind her. Wow.
Very much like a Beyond kind of moment.
Yeah. Franco spits out his tube in his mouth and mumbles that everything is shit. The only thing that is not shitty is sleep. Now a doctor walks in and asks what the nun is doing on the floor. Francisco says that she's praying. The doctor steps over her body and checks Franco's vitals. He says he has no family, and if Francisco signs the paperwork, they can pull the plug right now. Francisco tells the doctor to fuck off and blows his brains out too. Wow. Francisco puts the tube back in Franco's mouth and says that he won't let him die until he explains why he stole his murders. Don't you think anything I do counts? Just then a nurse walks in and screams when she sees the dead nun and doctor. Oh my God, what happened? They killed each other. It was a settling of scores. Don't you believe me? The nurse says no, and Francisco blows her brains out too. This scene is wild. It's my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, I think, this is one of my favorite scenes as well.
Literally, the bodies are literally piling.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
Remember that was a big song?
Yeah, it was a theme for SmackDown back in the day.
Holy shit. Francisco turns back to Franco and asks if he has anything to say to his oldest friend. Franco mumbles, "Who are you?" "I don't know you." "Go away!" As he screams, the camera cranes up and we see the room in all of its bloody glory. As Francisco walks through the hospital with his gun in hand and everyone is running around in fear around him, the chief of police says that there is another maniac on the loose killing people on the 4th floor. "Oh, you've got a gun. That's good. Now you can defend yourself." Francisco yells, "It was me!" But no one cares.
This was before Columbine, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Not
right before it, I believe.
I'm not drawing the comparison, but you see this kind of, there is a disturbing side a little bit, because the apathetic, your sociopath kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just aimlessly killing people. Ugh.
Yeah, and it's funny because this is an Italian book and a movie, but yet this is something that's very, I'd say like an American problem,
Yeah, like kids who are just like, I don't care. I play playing all these video games and just, it's like, it's not a big deal, and killing people, and
Interesting. Yeah, there's probably some kind of an essay that can be written about that, a parallel, but
I'm sure there is some snooty college type.
Yeah.
We're townies. We're townies. We don't go to college.
No.
I got a degree in FU.
I got a degree from Sergio Bagurgiak University. Back at the cemetery, Francisco is walking around drunk and shooting the wings off angel statues. He comes to a statue of death and says, "You and I are both the same. We kill out of indifference, out of love sometimes, but never out of hate. Now I don't know who's dead or alive. I'm sick of killing, so I'm leaving the game, brother. Dellamorte Dellamore bids you farewell." As Francisco starts to walk away, a booming voice says, "Where do you think you're going, if you haven't yet understood the difference between life and me?" The next morning, Francisco is changing the tires on his car in preparation for the road trip. Nagi wants to bring Valentina's coffin, but the cemetery man says no. I thought that was Valentina's coffin. Apparently, according to Michele Soavi, that was just Nagi's luggage. But I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But I thought he was trying to bring Valentina's dead body with him, like her head.
Yeah, I maybe thought that too, but then when it goes over the side pretty soon,
it's just clothes in it.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, that's just his suitcase.
Yeah. Which kind of makes it less exciting to me, so I wouldn't have even tracked it if I thought it was a suitcase.
Yeah.
Cut to Francisco and Nagi driving down the street with the coffin strapped to the roof of the car. He throws the cemetery key out the window as the two of them speed down the mountain roads, leaving town. Nagi is terrified of Francisco's driving. "Don't worry, I know every bump on this road. They hit a rock. There's one." I mean, that's such a simple joke, but it fucking makes me laugh every single time.
Yeah, it's really funny.
There's one. As they drive past the sign for their little village, Francisco says this is the furthest he's ever been. Then they both marvel at the large highway they are on and the beautiful mountains. As they approach a tunnel, Francisco says, "Past this tunnel is the rest of the world." As they drive through the almost never-ending tunnel, Francisco asks the sleeping Nagi what he thinks the rest of the world will look like. When his assistant doesn't answer, he says, "You're right. It's beyond imagination." As they drive out the other end of the tunnel, Francisco has to slam on his brakes. This causes Nagi to hit his head on the dash, splitting his forehead open. Nagi's luggage, I wrote Valentina's coffin, but Nagi's luggage flies off the roof and goes sliding across the road. Francisco gets out of the car and marvels at the sight. The road is broken and there's a cliff in front of them. The ground breaks and Nagi's, again, Valentina's coffin, falls into the gorge below. I should have known. The rest of the world doesn't exist. Nagi gets out of the car and falls over from the wound. Francisco cradles his friend as he passes out in his arms. He thinks he's dead. He goes to his car to get his revolver to shoot Nagi in case he turns into a zombie. It starts snowing. Francisco aims the revolver but can't pull the trigger. He sits next to Nagi and says, "You were my best friend. I didn't even realize it." Just then, Nagi opens his eyes and sits up. Francisco's best friend grabs the gun and throws it into the gorge too. Then he says in a very clear voice, "Can you take me home, please?" Now, I think that voice is dubbed. I don't think that's necessarily the actors.
Yeah, I agree.
Francisco replies, "Nya." The camera pans back, and we see that the two men in the snow globe from the beginning of the movie are Francisco and Nagi. Credits roll.
This last sequence is wild, and I love the way it ends. I love the it wraps up, and you get a sense at the very end that Francesco is like, he's come to his senses. He's had a change of heart. He's realized that
what's important in life.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's a cool button on some moments that you could definitely interpret that are disturbing and dark, or just go for the wild ride of it being a very tongue-in-cheek comedy horror. But at the end, there's like this very metaphorical, philosophical moment, and it is sprinkled throughout. He has the philosophical kind of poetic, monologues, like you have said throughout the movie. But at the end, it just kind of wraps up really nicely, and you're like, oh yeah, okay. So you feel like very satisfied at the end. That's how I feel. At the end of this movie, I was like, everything that I kind of questioned or like second guessed, it's wrapped up in a nice little bow. Like it was all in this little snow globe dream.
Yeah. No, I mean, so you haven't really seen it since kind of when it first came out. How do you think it holds up?
I think it's better now than it was when I saw it back in 94. When I saw it back in 94, I just was not mature enough to handle the material. And again, I'll say it. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. This is not a movie for younger people. I think this is a movie that deserves a more
mature lens.
Mature, deeper audience. You know, and it doesn't for a movie that's like an hour 45. It actually doesn't feel that long. It moves at a really nice pace, and which is surprising because I don't know, it feels like a lot of horror films move better when they're a little bit tighter. This one does. This one moves at a nice pace, and it has like vignettes that make it go smooth, you know?
Yeah.
The highlights obviously being the bus scene and the and then the hospital scene at the end, which is beautifully shot, no pun intended. Because when they pan up from like looking down on the operating room where his, friend is, you can see that it's a set, but it's very dreamlike.
Yeah.
And this whole film is dreamlike to tie into the whole snow globe.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I think, again, like to answer your question, I think it's better now. I think it's better now than it was, almost 30 years ago. Over 30 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm with you, buddy. As much as I did love it back then, I love it more now and for different reasons now. Yeah. I picked up on more stuff. I hadn't seen it. Like, you hadn't seen it in a long time, but I did pick up that Shameless Blu-ray a couple years ago. I showed it to Myra. We watched it. I gotta say that Shameless Blu-ray is absolutely fucking terrible. It looks like somebody ripped like a terrible VHS, YouTube copy of it and put it on Blu-ray. It's got the cool yellow, cover and everything, but man, the Severin 4K Blu-ray set is just pristine. It's absolutely beautiful. Pick that up. And It's interesting, Zach. I mean, yeah, the movie's an hour and 45 minutes, and this is actually one of our shorter breakdowns, and that's because the movie is definitely it's very visual. Like there's a lot of like moments where there's just no dialogue. There's scenes that Zach, like for me it was like a sentence or two, but that scene might be 5 minutes of just beauty and shots and stuff and action. But like, when you break it down, you're like, oh, he shoots this zombie in the head. You know what I mean? But like it's much better than the breakdown will lead you to believe. And there's also like a lot of like I said, poetic dialogue in it and everything. But I tried to kind of just hone in on sort of the stuff that it was either kind of giving us an insight into a character or moving the plot forward. Because again, I don't want this to be a transcribation of the movie. I want you all to go out and see it. And yeah, dude, I'm with you, man. Like I love this movie more now, and I loved it back in the day, but I adore it now, and I love that it exists. I love that we have this 4K of it, and I love that, yeah, it's what, 30 years old, more than 30 years or something like that?
31 years, because it came out in 94.
Yeah, so last year was, when this 4K came out was last year, that was for the 30th anniversary.
Yeah, wow. And I'm glad it finally got a proper release, and thanks to Robert for being a Patreon supporter at the highest tier, and you guys can do that too. You can go to patreon.com/podcastingafterdark and sign up to our highest tier and become a producer of the show, just like Robert Ortiz and
many others.
And many others. So many to count, so many to list off. We don't even have time. We'll do that on a Wrap Up After Dark episode down the road of all you amazing supporters, including Robert. But yeah, you can be like Robert, and we'll break down a movie of your choice. From dusk till dawn, whatever you want,
Why is there no good Blu-ray of that?
I have no idea. And there's so many movies that do not have a proper release. Fortunately, this one does. Yeah. Cemetery Man 1. But again, I said it in the beginning of the episode. I'll say it again. If you want, you can watch it on YouTube for free, and it's a decent transfer. I think it's pretty much this version. It's also on Tubi too, but it's on YouTube. It's on Tubi. Or you can buy the Blu-ray for like $18 on Amazon.
Yeah. And while you're on Amazon, swing over to Robert Ortiz's page and pick up one of his books. He has books on poetry, his poetry, and he also has a wedding planner as well. But I, again, will have the link in the show notes of this episode. So please go and support our friend. He's very talented. He's a great guy, and he's got great taste in movies. But you know what I never not dislike?
What do you never not dislike?
$2 late fee.
Oh.
That's you, buddy. I'm queuing you up, pal. What you got going on?
I tell you what, it kind of ties into Podcasting After Dark, because the release of this episode coincides with the release of an interview I did with Todd Allen. Todd Allen, of course, is from the movie Witchboard, and I've been wanting to get him on the show for many years.
Guys and gals, this was years in the making, and I was there for all of it. Years in the making of I couldn't believe he would keep replying and everything, and I couldn't be there. I was out of town. I was traveling on the day that Zach was gonna record it. Of course, Zach asked if I could be there. I was like, bro, I can't. But I was like, do not cancel. Just do it, man.
Yeah, there is one particular guest that I was supposed to have on $2 late fee that has rescheduled and canceled on me 15 times. I don't think she's going to be on the show anytime soon, because everyone's telling me, even if she does end up coming on the show, no, that's not okay. If someone cancels on you 15 times, you should not have them on. You wouldn't go on a date with somebody like that. Anyways, that didn't happen with Todd. Todd had a lot of things come into his life, good, bad, the ugly, all that stuff. And we made it happen. Bottom line, he was great. I told some wild stories, so many wild stories that I was like, this might be one of my favorite interviews I've done in a long time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he told some fun Witchboard stories, throws Deborah Foreman under the bus, which is hilarious, and starts to apologize for it. I'm like, no, don't apologize for that. Talks about his relationship with Kevin Costner and how he got to where he is now in Hollywood. The guy has worked with one amazing director after another. As we said, Cyrano de Bogdanovich. But also Quentin Tarantino, Lawrence Kasdan, like so many great directors, worked with so many great actors as well. You gotta check it out. The YouTube version of it is great because there's some cool images that I inserted into the interview, or you can listen to the audio version as well. Todd Allen, fun interview, and he turned down a major role to be in the movie Silverado, and you can hear all about that. It's crazy.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And yeah, like Zach said, this month we started the Bill Lustig Factor, the Lustig Factor, and we're having fun with that. But like we said, if you sign up for that tier, the $5 tier, you'll also get access to the Carpenter Factor and the Coscarelli Factor, all complete at this point, unless either of them, does another movie or something.
It's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a great deal. For just $5, you unlock a bunch of episodes. But
so much audio pleasure for your ears.
Yes, so much. But this was awesome, Zach. I don't think I said it earlier, but Cemetery Man was on our short list. Like, it was one of like the 5-10 movies or whatever I was thinking about when like I pitched this podcast to Zach. This was like one of those movies that I knew we were going to cover at one point. So yeah, I'm glad we finally did. And again, thank you to Robert Ortiz. Thank you to Zach for, as always, rocking and rolling. And as always,
we'll catch you on the dark side, okay? Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, that guy too. Not gonna work here anymore.
Be sure to subscribe to Podcasting After Dark and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Support Podcasting After Dark on Patreon. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Podcasting After Dark. And visit us next time for another installment of Podcasting After Dark with Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer.